Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today. My name is Allie Hoy. I'm from the Office of Grants Management. I'm joined by Remy from HHS, who will be in the chat if you have any questions. For today's session, we're going to be talking about the FY27 Lighthouse Grant Program information session. So the agenda for today is to focus on identifying support resources and grant point of contacts. We're also going to be discussing partnership request opportunities and steps to prepare for the grant program. Another significant component of today's session is walking through the UNA grant application platform. So I'm going to connect you with some resources today, including videos of how to create your account, how to add team members, how to update budget tools, and how to complete an application. So this session will be recorded, but there are also recorded videos that we have. So the create an account one is like a 5-minute video we have developed. We have a 10-minute video on how to specifically use the budget tool in the application. So I'll just connect you to those resources, and we'll also go through an example today. So by the end of Tuesday, we expect to be sending out another newsletter about this grant program. So this meeting is going to be recorded. Since you've registered today, you will automatically receive an email with that recording, but we're also planning to post it on the OGM homepage, and the slide decks for this session and for future sessions will also be posted online. So please stay tuned for our newsletter on Tuesday, and we will be announcing the specific NOFO and program page for this grant program before next week's session on Friday, April 10th. So I highly recommend that next week, after we send out that newsletter, that you check out the program details and register for next week's information session, which will have more specific details about the program, eligibility, things like that. But for today, I just recommend that you subscribe to that newsletter, and we'll put some links into the chat later today. So we're here to talk about the Lighthouse grant program. So the Lighthouse initiative is out of Department of Health and Human Services. So this was is a program that has been run in previous fiscal years. What the HHS team has been doing in the off period between last year's grant and this period is they've been getting community feedback through several rounds of listening sessions that were held in collaboration with the Office of Community Partnerships. So these listening sessions were held throughout January and February, and they were utilized to get public feedback on the FY26 Lighthouse grant program in order to develop this year's grant program, NOFO. So for this year, that says FY26, but for FY27, we are anticipating that one umbrella organization will be awarded nearly $4 million in county funds. So the purpose of the grant program is to lead a cohort and implement a centralized intake and needs assessment system. So the grant overall goals are to provide navigation to critical services such as housing, healthcare, education, immigration, legal services, case management, and strong outreach to the immigrant populations across the county. So in order to to this grant program, we anticipate that you'll want to collaborate a lot with other organizations to serve the individuals and families under this grant program. So, as the individuals and families acclimate and thrive to their new community, they may encounter various vulnerabilities and systematic barriers, such as challenges in immigration status, and accessing critical basic needs. So, this is becoming such a relevant topic, and it always has been, but um, this grant program is intended to address the needs in a culturally and linguistically appropriate manner to provide individuals and families stabilization and self sufficiency. So, through this grant program, we are expecting applicants to demonstrate strong partnership development with other county partners through a coalition and show that that your organization and the coalition you're working with have capacity building efforts, including establishing a community advising board, and supporting partner organizations to ensure coordinated, equitable, and responsive service delivery systems. So there is one notice that we have about this grant program. So the FY27 budget is currently pending. The potential applicants for this grant program must be aware that the county council has not yet appropriated the funds for FY27, even though the county executive has released his recommended budget. So the grant program and the NOFO that's released next week will be based on the current recommended FY27 budget, and it may be subject to change as council goes through the approval process. So, along that note, if there are any changes to the funding amount, the awarded applicant or the applicants will have an opportunity to revise that budget to match the appropriated amount. So, if the county council or others recommends substantial changes to the scope or terms of the grant program through this appropriations process, then we may need to issue a new NOFO to reflect those decisions. So that's just something that you should be aware of throughout this application process, because this application will be open until around mid-May when the budget is still being finalized. So if that happens, we would notify all applicants about the new process and provide an updated scope and requirements document. So the focus on today is getting you prepared to apply next week. So there are a couple of things that I want to review. First of all, HHS has developed a partnership request form where you, as applicants, can begin building collaborative partnerships for this grant program. So, so let me just skip to slide 7 right now, and I'll show you what this form looks like. So, so there is a partnership interest contact list that was being developed during the listening sessions. So this list is just a PDF document that includes contact information from a list of community-based organizations that are interested in supporting the broad community-driven partnership network that aligns with this grant program. So this is a list, a PDF list of all of the interested partners. So many of the organizations on the list represent the cultural, linguistic, and demographic diversity of the local population of Montgomery County. And they've all expressed interest in developing a partnership to deliver services under this grant. So there's also a sign up form that you can use to to be added to this list. So I'm just going to take a quick pause and show you what that form looks like and what it looks like to be on the list. So just show you how to sign up. There is a Lighthouse grant partnership interest form. So we ask you to fill out an office form with your information, your organization, and contact. So you can always be removed from this list by contacting the Lighthouse grant team. And when you've been added to the list, it'll be just a PDF of people's contact information that are interested in partnering for this grant program. So this list is planned to be updated weekly, and we will continue posting this on the grant program page and the applicant resources page of OGM. Okay, so I highly suggest that you look through that partnership list and begin developing contacts today. Another step that you should be taking now to prepare to apply is verifying that your organization meets the general eligibility conditions that all of our applicants have to meet. So this includes maintaining current registration and maintaining good standing with the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation. So I can show you what that page looks like and how to search later today. Another new requirement that we've been adding to recent grant opportunities is that if you are a 501c3 charity, we will also be checking that you have a current standing with the Maryland Secretary of State Charities Public Registry. So this is a new requirement. We will understand if you need some time or some more information about this. So you can always contact grants@montgomerycountymd.gov if you have any questions about this new requirement. So another requirement of this grant is that you must have a location in Montgomery County if you are the lead organization. So we will ensure that services are being provided in Montgomery County and exclusively to Montgomery County residents. So current applicants for this grant program should also be current on other reporting obligations with the county. Because if you're out of compliance, then that might show that you may not be compliant with this grant. So please make sure you're current on your awards or contact our office if you have any concerns about that. Okay, so there's some other general eligibility conditions for this grant program that we just want you to be aware of. So all activities and expenditures funded through this grant program should be provided free of charge to the people that are receiving these services. So it should also be available to all Montgomery County residents, regardless of race, color, religion, other statuses. So please review these eligibility conditions, and I will leave this with one last note. So we would prefer that you update your records now so that if you are awarded, that payments and other post-award processes will be easier. So your name, your organization name will need to match in 3 different places in order for things to run smoothly in Montgomery County. So in your application, your legal organization name, we're going to use that to generate your grant agreement. So that application organization name should match the Maryland State Department of Assessments and Taxation and it should also match the Montgomery County vendor registration system. So if your name is um, using like a doing business as name, or there's any other mismatch between these three areas, then you may run into issues with your payment or your DPO. So I'm going to pause to show you a couple of these resources that I just talked about, including the SDAT and the Secretary of State One Stop.
Hi, Allie. Just want to
Yeah.
let you know we have a question in the chat. Nicole is asking, where are all of the links available?
Yes, sure. I can show you where they will be available on Tuesday. So I am opening up the Office of Grants Management homepage. So next week, if you check back on this page, you can see that when the grant program is launched, it will be showing up under OGM outgoing grants. But in the meantime, we're also going to be posting specific details about this grant program under the resources for applicants page. So when I make this update to add all these links, I'll be adding it at the bottom of this page specific to this grant program until we have that grant page open. So please check back here. But I also will note that we do have your since you registered today, we do have your email addresses, and I will follow up with the PowerPoint from today. Okay, so the eligibility requirements are for the lead applicant. Okay, so let me show you what the SDAT page looks like. So you can just type in your business name and click on the title of your business, and it will tell you if you're in good standing or not um, with the state of Maryland. So it's pretty clear. All you need to do is just type in your name or the SDAT number that you have associated with your organization. So this is something that the lead organization will be checking and verifying. So make sure that the lead applicant has good standing with the state of Maryland. And I believe that it's pretty quick to make revisions to this account, so you would just need to contact their support line. So a newer requirement that we've been checking at the Office of Grants Management is that all 501c3s and charities are registered with the Secretary of State for Maryland. So this is how you can search for yourself. I'm going to put this in the PowerPoint as well, a link. But we just want to make sure that you're registered and that you're keeping up with obligations with the state. Okay, so let's see what else. There's also the Montgomery County vendor registration system. So this is another place where you should sign up if you're not a vendor already and you're planning to be the lead organization. If you have any issues with accessing your account, there is a contact information. Please note that they don't have a phone number and that you'll just have to contact them by email. Okay. So there are a ton of support links and resources for the UNA grants application. So there are a couple of video resources that we have available, including a video of how to create your account and how to use the UNA budget tool. There's also a couple of technical guides from UNA that includes screenshots and technical details about the grant application process, including how to submit your application, how to transfer the application to someone else, and things like that. UNA Grants is also available as a technical support if you're having any issues with your account. So they tend to get back to you within 24 hours if there's issues with logging in or for some reason you can't see a specific aspect of your application and you think there's a technical issue. Just please reach out to Grants, but also notify OGM so that we're aware. And then there's also point of contact for Remy from HHS, who can be a great resource for determining if you're eligible or if you have questions about partnerships and how to establish those things, then Remy would be a great contact. So in terms of these support resources, there, so this is So where you find these resources is under resources for applicants, which we are at. So if you go to the bottom of this screen, there's a couple of resources here that I've linked in the PowerPoint. So if you are new to creating an application in Una, you can watch this 5-minute video where it basically just walks through setting up your account. And starting an application for the first time. So this is a pretty good resource for if you're new to Unigrants. There is also a budget specific training that's about 8 or 9 minutes. And it shows you specifics of how to add things to the budget, what the indirect costs and cost shares are all about, and things like that. So I highly recommend these resources on the applicants page. And again, this is where I'm going to be putting some specific details about the Lighthouse grant program until that NOFO is available. And I also just want to quickly show you what the UNA grants guide looks like because I find it quite useful because of the amount of screenshots that are available. So throughout your application, you may have questions, and this is a great resource for if we have gaps in our trainings. So I highly recommend using these guides to get acclimated to the grant program. Okay, so another thing is that there is going to be another information session next Friday at 1 o'clock. So that one is also available to register. And we sent out a newsletter on Wednesday where you can find that registration link. Okay. So now I think I want to show you the Unigrants platform. So for today's presentation, I'm just going to be using the FY26 Lighthouse Grant Program as an example. So the information in this page is out of date because it's from the FY26 cycle, but it's going to be a good example for how to create an application and other things. Okay. So in order to begin, you'll want to create an account. So when you select create your account, you'll have to put in your name, email address, and password. What you'll also need to do is verify in your email that that's the email that you're associated with. So there's just a quick verification email you have to do. And then you'll receive this email that you're verified and you can start logging in. So once you have that account, please log in using this portal login. Okay, so this is my testing account. There's a lot of applications in here. And if you're new to Unigrants, you can always update your applicant information, but I think mostly you're just going to want to go to that grant page while you're logged in. and click the apply button. So once you've clicked that apply button while you're logged in, there's a create new application button that will pop up. So please note that the lead applicant can only create one application for this grant cycle. So, so if you've noticed you created an application and want to delete it or make a new one, you can always either remove it yourself or contact OGM if you have any technical questions about the application process and the restrictions to one application per applicant. So that doesn't mean that you can't be involved with other grant programs, but as a lead applicant, you can only submit one. So you would just create an application. It takes a couple of seconds to fully load, but just be patient and there will be an application that is formed. Okay, so I've created that application. Next, you want to just click on the project title. So the first thing that you're going to see is they prompt you to add your team members. So if you have collaborators on this grant program that you want to have access, either editing access or reviewing access, just click add team member and you simply just need to input their email address and they'll receive a prompt. But please note that this invitation to the application doesn't last forever. I think the link to accept probably expires within 24 to 48 hours. So please note that if you've sent this message to someone, but they never accepted it, then you might have to send it again. Okay, so you can see that there are several components for this grant program. This is the FY26 version, so there may be changes, but a couple of things to orient yourself. Notice that the submit application is grayed out. That is because all of these application tasks have not been marked as complete. So how we get started is you can click on the application stage to see details about the grant program and things like that. But when you're ready to begin the application, just click on core information and you can start editing and saving as complete once you've typed in test details or your title. So when you save as a draft, please note that on the left side, this core information task has now changed from not started to draft. So let me just complete this one to show you what that looks like. You'll notice that it's turned green once this task is complete. So as you go through the application process, you're going to want to follow the same format for each application task. So there's also another thing I want to note that you should save your progress throughout and it'll help commit your edits to that form. So I highly recommend just saving as draft throughout so that there's no disappointing technical issues. Okay, so you can go through and fill out each form. A lot of it is going to be data fields and uploads. So we'll go through that during the April 10th session. But for now, I just want to show you really quickly that that the budget, in order to fill the budget out, you will have to click on the budget category title. So this is just how you're going to get started with the editing of the grant budget tool. And I highly recommend that video resource because, or the unit guide because it has the screenshots and the step-by-step guidance for adding things. So you can get really granular in this budget, or you can keep things very general. So um, if you are going to have multiple categories of personnel, you can have subcategories that have their own table. And then you can like create another subcategory with its own table. Or you can just keep things simple and simply just add a table with and put in the title, the description, and other details. So this is another one where you're going to want to save throughout the process. There are required fields. For instance, it wasn't letting me submit this budget because I did not put in a title and a description for the budget item. So when you're done editing this budget and you want to save this for your records, please note that you can click this Excel export budget and it'll just download an Excel copy of this budget. Something else I want to note about the budget process is that there's a budget narrative field down at the bottom where we expect you to provide the details about what you've entered into this budget tool. So this is where you can explain in a longer format the description um, of each budget item. Okay, so I will actually be showing this again on April 10th. But that's the basics of how to edit the budget. And I'll get into more detail when we have the session next week. So in order to upload information about your collaborations, please note that we want you to formalize partnerships that you are proposing for this application period. So we do ask you if the application you're submitting is representative of a single organization or collaboration. And if it is a collaboration, then we would like to see a letter of commitment that is signed by the partner that you're planning to work with. So I say this now because we want you to get started with developing partnerships now. This grant program is likely to be open until mid-May, so there's a lot of time to get started. And I'm going to put this form in the chat. We will be updating this over the weekend. It's usually going to be updated on Fridays.
Hey, Allie,
Yes.
I have just some updates for you. So at the end of the presentation, we have a request from Barbara if we can go over how the current grantee is implementing the project and what that involves. So that's one ask. And then the second one is from Mariana. She would like to, well, that she submitted a partner interest form on March 10th, but has not received any confirmation or other responses. Is there a way to check if she's on the list?
Yes, I would recommend that you actually reach out to this inbox, Lighthouse at montgomerycountymd.gov, and they can check on the status of the list and when you submitted that request. I don't currently have access to this form, so yeah, contacting them or Remy can also follow up with her team. Okay, so Remy, I don't really have a current update on what's going on with the current grantee. Do you have anything to share or that you can
Absolutely.
share?
Absolutely, sure. So currently, the FY26 Lighthouse Initiative grantee is doing an excellent job. They are our umbrella grant holder, and they have been able to demonstrate strong collaboration with three sub-grantees and provide a wide range of services from, the basic necessities, food, housing, clothing through their sub-grantees. Additionally, with, really providing workforce support to ensure that people who need to access job opportunities are able to do so. There's also been a strong encouragement to get into micro entrepreneurism. With the way that things are these days and just how policy is shifting from week to week or day to day. It's important for individuals to have the information to really tap into their skills and things that they're able to produce or create and share in order to have monetary funds and sustain their family. There's so much that I could tell you, but I will definitely say that through identity, the current grantee and the additional sub-grantees, they have done excellent, excellent work. We are highly, highly pleased, and we support them in any way that we can. Yeah. And then I want to check something. We're getting some additional questions. Oh, I'm sorry. No, that was your shares. Your shares that way. Okay. Thank you. Thank you, Barbara. All right. Over out.
Yeah, so a couple of resources were just added to the chat. Um, so yeah, if you have any new folks from your team that should be on our newsletter, I highly recommend that because we've been pretty active with that on a weekly or biweekly basis. Um, and we will be sending out an announcement on Tuesday. That's when our next newsletter is expected. And in that newsletter will be a link to this video and the slides from today, including a registration link for the next session. But yeah, once this meeting ends, I believe you will receive an automatic email with the video link. But for other members of the team that you want to share this with, you can share that email or refer them back to the OGM page for next week. Are there any other questions? Because we will stay on and answer them if you put them in the chat. Okay, this session is over, but we'll stay on for a few minutes and you can log off if you wish. Thank you all for joining us today. Hello. So once this event ends, the registration attendees should be able to receive an email from Teams with this recording. But I'm also planning to download it and post it to the grant program page by Tuesday. Solo applications are acceptable. So collaboration is something that you don't have to do, but there is a question in the application where you can say that you're a single partner. Thank you, everyone. I'm not seeing any other questions, so I might end the meeting early, but please contact OGM at grants@montgomerycountymd.gov if you have any questions throughout the application process. And if I can't answer it, I will pass along your message to Remy and the Lighthouse Initiative team. So thank you for joining us today. And I'll see you at the April 10th session.